The 3rd of March 1943. Normandy Front, Northern Sector. A sudden tremor shakes the front line as artillery shells tear through enemy positions. British infantry glance skyward, but it is not the gun's mechanical might alone that produces this relentless barrage. Behind the cannon, a single loader moves with precision and speed, each round placed with mechanical efficiency yet human determination. Enemy soldiers scramble, shouting over the roar. They had calculated response times, anticipated reload rates, and positioned themselves behind cover. None predicted that one man, trained and disciplined, could accelerate firepower beyond expectation. Shells rained down faster than anyone thought possible, creating confusion and panic. British commanders watched the effects unfold through field binoculars. Their strategy depends on the unassuming efficiency of that loader, whose skill transforms ordinary artillery into an instrument of overwhelming force. Every shot lands precisely, every salvo maintains momentum, and every enemy calculation proves inadequate. In minutes, the battlefield is reshaped. Trenches are torn, communications disrupted, and morale fractured. The enemy realizes too late that the rapid-fire barrage is not the product of multiple teams or advanced machinery but the astonishing capability of a single British loader. This moment of human ingenuity under fire marks the beginning of a campaign where individual skill turns the tide of battle, challenging assumptions and redefining the power of precision and discipline. By early 1943, Britain had refined its artillery operations into a combination of firepower, coordination, and logistics designed to overwhelm enemy positions. Artillery units were not merely tools of destruction, they were instruments of tactical precision. Commanders recognized that a well-trained crew could achieve rates of fire far beyond what enemy forces anticipated, particularly when each member understood their role with exacting discipline. Enemy forces in Normandy relied on fixed defensive assumptions. They expected British batteries to operate at standard rates, dictated by crew size, artillery type, and logistical limitations. Observers predicted reload intervals, calculated defensive maneuvers, and adjusted positions to avoid predictable barrages. The underlying assumption was that one man could not significantly alter the operational tempo of an artillery gun, and that rate-of-fire improvements would require additional crews or mechanical enhancements. Britain's approach challenged this perception. Training emphasized the efficiency of each role within an artillery team, particularly loaders. These soldiers were drilled to handle shells rapidly without compromising accuracy or safety. Coordination between the loader, gunner, and command staff was meticulously rehearsed. The loader became the heartbeat of the operation, ensuring that the gun's rate of fire could sustain continuous pressure on enemy positions. Artillery technology of the period also played a role. British field guns, designed for both mobility and sustained operation, allowed for rapid reloading cycles when handled by trained crews. Ammunition handling, from storage to the breech, followed strict protocols to maintain speed while avoiding misfires. The single loader's movements were choreographed, practiced countless times, so that each round entered the barrel as part of a fluid sequence, almost like a mechanical extension of the gun itself. This emphasis on human precision complemented broader British artillery strategy. Commanders sought to create a perception of overwhelming firepower, even when the actual number of personnel or guns was limited. By accelerating the reload process and coordinating timing with observation units, a single well-trained loader could make an artillery piece perform at rates that enemies considered impossible. The combination of speed, accuracy, and timing amplified the psychological effect on opposing forces. In preparation for operations in Normandy, British units focused on integrated drills, simulating the pressure of battle while maintaining operational tempo. Loaders were assessed for endurance and consistency, ensuring that sustained rapid-fire missions could be carried out without degradation of performance. Training also included scenario-based exercises, teaching crews to adapt if shells misfired, guns overheated, or enemy counterbattery fire disrupted normal rhythms. Enemy intelligence underestimated these preparations. Reconnaissance reports observed typical crew movements, while predictable firing patterns suggested standard reload intervals. What the enemy failed to account for was the combination of human skill, tactical rehearsal, and disciplined execution. A single loader, operating at peak efficiency, could exceed expectations and challenge defensive assumptions in real time. By the time British artillery opened fire on the 3rd of March, these preparations culminated in a moment where planning, training, and human skill converged. Enemy forces, confident in their assessments and defensive readiness, were caught off guard. The extraordinary efficiency of one loader transformed the artillery into a rapid-fire instrument capable of reshaping the battlefield in minutes. The operational environment in Normandy demanded precision and adaptability. British artillery units faced a complex battlefield with entrenched enemy positions, minefields, and fortified bunkers. Standard doctrine suggested that a full team was required to maintain sustained fire on such targets. Yet, Britain recognized that efficiency could compensate for manpower limitations. Every soldier's role was optimized, with the loader acting as the critical link between ammunition supply and the gun. Enemy forces relied on predictable calculations of artillery cadence. They assumed reload times, counting intervals between shots to anticipate attacks and coordinate counterfire. Observation posts, communication lines, and defensive trenches were positioned accordingly. These assumptions formed the basis of enemy confidence, reinforcing a false sense of security that would soon be exploited. British innovation focused on exploiting these assumptions. Loaders were trained to maximize speed without sacrificing accuracy, working in tandem with gunners who synchronized elevation and targeting adjustments. Ammunition supply chains were carefully organized to ensure a continuous flow, even under fire. This system allowed a single loader, working at peak efficiency, to generate a rate of fire typically expected from multiple operators. Each round fired compounded enemy miscalculations, overwhelming defensive timing and reaction protocols. The technical design of British field artillery facilitated this approach. Breech mechanisms, recoil systems, and shell handling methods were refined for rapid operation. When combined with rigorous training, these mechanical advantages allowed artillery to function at an optimized tempo. The loader's skill became a force multiplier, translating technique into tangible battlefield dominance. British command emphasized not only the physical execution but the psychological effect. Rapid, precise artillery fire created confusion, disrupted command coordination, and eroded morale. Enemy soldiers, expecting routine intervals, found themselves under constant pressure. Communications broke down, orders were delayed, and defensive cohesion faltered. In this environment, the impact of a single, highly trained loader was magnified beyond what conventional logic suggested. Field reports from early engagements highlighted the effectiveness of this approach. Observers noted that artillery could sustain pressure longer than anticipated and that rapid-fire capabilities forced opposing units to adopt more cautious, less effective defensive postures. The combination of speed, accuracy, and endurance allowed British forces to dictate the tempo of battle, seizing initiative and maintaining operational advantage. The preparation for these engagements reflected a broader British strategic philosophy: leverage human skill, technological reliability, and meticulous planning to achieve disproportionate results. Each mission was rehearsed, timed, and synchronized with other units to ensure that even minimal personnel could produce maximum effect. The loader's contribution was central. Without their precision and endurance, the rapid-fire barrage that would come to define the operation would have been impossible. The single loader's most immediate advantage lay in speed. Each shell was placed into the breech with precise timing, minimizing gaps between shots. Enemy observers, accustomed to standard firing intervals, were stunned by the rhythm of the barrage. The loader's efficiency transformed the artillery from a predictable weapon into a relentless force, capable of sustaining pressure that seemed impossible for one man to generate. Speed became a tool of disruption, preventing enemy units from coordinating counterfire or repositioning effectively. Rapid fire would have been meaningless without accuracy. Each shell was placed according to precise targeting information relayed by observers and gunners. The loader's movements were synchronized with sight adjustments and elevation changes, ensuring that every round contributed to the intended effect. Trenches were struck at key points, command positions disrupted, and critical ammunition stores destroyed. Precision amplified the psychological impact, demonstrating to the enemy that the barrage was deliberate, controlled, and unstoppable. Sustaining a rapid-fire rate under combat conditions demanded remarkable endurance. The loader moved continuously, each shell heavier than the last, all while maintaining composure under the roar of artillery, incoming enemy fire, and battlefield chaos. Training emphasized stamina and repetition, allowing crews to maintain operational tempo for extended periods. This endurance ensured that the rate of fire did not drop, and that the barrage remained relentless, leaving enemy forces under constant pressure and unable to regroup. The loader's work was part of an intricate system of coordination. Gunners, spotters, and commanders synchronized their actions to create a seamless sequence of fire. Radio operators relayed target updates, and support personnel ensured ammunition availability. The loader's efficiency was critical in maintaining this flow, turning a single gun into a force capable of overwhelming defensive positions. Coordination magnified the loader's impact, proving that individual skill could shape the outcome of a broader operation. Above all, the human element defined the operation. Training, discipline, and composure allowed one loader to exceed expected capabilities. Enemy forces were confronted not with an impersonal machine but with the focused skill of an individual operating at the limits of endurance and precision. This human dimension transformed ordinary artillery into a weapon of strategic effect, creating consequences far beyond the sum of mechanical performance. The rapid-fire barrage had a profound psychological effect on the enemy. Soldiers trained to anticipate slower intervals between shells found themselves under relentless pressure. Panic spread through trenches and command posts as soldiers struggled to adjust to a tempo they had never experienced. The realization that one loader could sustain such a rate of fire undermined confidence, eroded morale, and induced hesitation. Fear, confusion, and uncertainty multiplied the physical destruction, amplifying the operational advantage gained by the British. The loader's efficiency allowed British commanders to implement tactics previously considered impossible. Rapid, concentrated fire could suppress multiple positions simultaneously, enabling infantry advances and reducing vulnerability to counterattacks. Enemy defensive strategies, which relied on predictable artillery patterns, were rendered obsolete. The ability of one loader to sustain high-tempo operations forced the enemy to disperse forces, delay maneuvers, and reconsider defensive priorities in real time. Britain's approach reflected innovation in both training and logistical planning. The synchronization of human skill, mechanical reliability, and ammunition supply exemplified a methodical advancement in artillery operations. Techniques for quick shell transfer, breech handling, and rapid adjustment of targeting calculations were refined to maximize output. The single loader became a symbol of how disciplined execution could multiply the effectiveness of existing technology, turning standard field artillery into an unprecedented strategic asset. Enemy forces attempted to adapt, but the speed and precision of the barrage outpaced reactive measures. Counter-battery fire was delayed, misdirected, or insufficient. Defensive positions were constantly disrupted, leaving commanders scrambling to coordinate responses. Each adaptation revealed new vulnerabilities, which British forces exploited through continuous pressure. The loader's consistent tempo became the backbone of these operations, demonstrating how disciplined performance could dictate enemy behavior. British morale was strengthened by the tangible results of skill and coordination. Crews observed the immediate impact of their efforts, reinforcing confidence in training and operational methods. The effectiveness of a single loader underscored the value of human contribution, encouraging soldiers to maintain focus and discipline. In contrast, the enemy's shaken confidence became a strategic asset, highlighting how psychological effects could be leveraged alongside material destruction. The 3rd of March 1943. Northern Sector, Normandy Front. The battle began with sudden, precise artillery fire that shattered the stillness of the morning. Enemy troops, confident in their calculations of British firing rates, barely had time to react. Shells landed with devastating accuracy, tearing through trenches, command posts, and supply caches. At the heart of this unexpected assault was a single British loader, moving with relentless efficiency to maintain an unprecedented rate of fire. The loader worked in perfect synchronization with the gunner. Each shell was placed swiftly, with no pause for hesitation or error. Observers relayed target coordinates in real time, adjusting for minor variations in wind or trajectory. The enemy, expecting gaps between shots, found themselves under constant bombardment, unable to organize an effective countermeasure. Every volley compounded confusion, eroding both defensive cohesion and morale. From British command positions, the operation unfolded as planned. Every shot was accounted for, every interval measured. The loader's technique ensured that the gun could fire continuously, surpassing rates thought possible by both Allied and Axis standards. High Command noted the efficiency in reports, praising the human precision that turned ordinary field artillery into a weapon capable of dictating the tempo of battle. Enemy officers attempted to coordinate a response. Observers calculated the expected reload intervals and ordered counterfire, only to discover that the British gun never paused. Anti-artillery tactics failed to anticipate the loader's speed, and miscalculations left positions exposed. Panic spread among the defending troops. Some sought cover, others attempted to flee, while command structures struggled to communicate under relentless bombardment. The psychological impact was immediate. Soldiers reported the sensation of facing an unstoppable, almost inhuman force. Shells arrived in rapid succession, with no visible team behind them, leaving the impression that British artillery was everywhere at once. The enemy realized, far too late, that the devastating rate of fire was the result of one disciplined individual working in perfect harmony with the gun. By mid-morning, the effects were unmistakable. Key positions had been neutralized, supply lines disrupted, and command posts incapacitated. The single loader had enabled an artillery operation that surpassed conventional expectations, proving that human skill, precision, and coordination could achieve strategic dominance. The battlefield had been irrevocably altered within hours, a testament to preparation, training, and audacity. This moment marked a turning point in the sector. British forces gained initiative, and enemy responses became reactive, fragmented, and ineffective. The loader's relentless pace had demonstrated the potential for individual contribution to shift the outcome of an engagement, setting the stage for the continued escalation of rapid-fire operations across Normandy. The 4th of March 1943. Northern Sector, Normandy Front. The following day, British artillery intensified operations. Observing the previous day's success, commanders extended the rapid-fire strategy across multiple batteries. Yet, it was the continued performance of the single loader that ensured operational superiority. Each shell launched with precision and speed disrupted enemy defensive coordination, preventing them from establishing coherent countermeasures. Enemy troops attempted to retaliate. Artillery crews scrambled to return fire, but miscalculations and hesitation proved fatal. The relentless tempo of British firing overwhelmed observation posts and communications lines. Commanders struggled to direct their units under the constant pressure of high-speed barrages. Soldiers in trenches reported an almost continuous thunder, unable to discern intervals or calculate reload patterns. The realization that one loader could sustain this rate of fire created a mixture of shock and despair. British coordination remained flawless. Spotters relayed updated target coordinates, while the loader maintained an unbroken rhythm. Ammunition supply teams ensured the gun never paused, moving rounds efficiently from storage to breach. Gunners adjusted elevation and targeting in real time, synchronized with the loader's timing. The battlefield became a symphony of calculated destruction, each shell reinforcing the overwhelming effect of human precision amplified by teamwork and technology. The enemy's morale collapsed under the barrage. Attempts to fortify positions or reposition forces failed. Communications broke down entirely in some sectors, leaving isolated units vulnerable to continued fire. High Command notes later described confusion and disbelief, recognizing that conventional calculations about artillery capacity had been rendered obsolete. Soldiers spoke of the invisible hand behind the barrage, unable to comprehend that a single loader could dictate the rhythm of devastation. By afternoon, key objectives had been neutralized. Supply caches, trenches, and command points were destroyed, leaving the enemy incapable of mounting an organized defense. The single loader's relentless efficiency had enabled not only material destruction but also strategic dominance, shifting initiative entirely to British forces. This series of strikes highlighted a profound truth about warfare: individual skill, when combined with meticulous planning, training, and coordination, could achieve effects traditionally attributed to large units or mechanical superiority. The rapid-fire barrage demonstrated that human precision could redefine the tempo and outcome of battle. The loader's performance created ripples far beyond the immediate battlefield. Enemy command was forced to reassess defensive doctrines, redeploy units, and allocate resources to previously secure sectors. British forces, confident in their operational tempo, could continue the offensive while the enemy struggled to adapt. The stage was now set for examining the aftermath, where the consequences of this extraordinary human contribution would become fully apparent. The immediate consequences of the rapid-fire barrage were stark. Enemy positions in the northern sector of Normandy lay in ruin. Trenches had collapsed under the weight of successive shells, command posts were obliterated, and supply caches destroyed. Troops were forced into disarray, with units scattered and communication lines severed. What the enemy had initially perceived as a coordinated battery strike revealed itself to be the work of a single British loader whose skill had exponentially increased the artillery's effectiveness. British commanders documented the results with precision. Reports highlighted the rate of fire achieved, the minimal downtime between shells, and the effectiveness of targeting. Observers noted that the loader's efficiency transformed what would have been routine bombardment into a relentless, sustained assault. No mechanical failure, no shortage of personnel, and no enemy adaptation could halt the tempo. The operation validated months of training, logistical planning, and tactical preparation, proving that human skill could act as a force multiplier in critical moments. The psychological impact on enemy troops was immediate and severe. Confidence in defensive calculations evaporated as soldiers realized their estimates of British artillery capabilities had been fatally underestimated. Morale dropped sharply, hesitation replaced initiative. Even experienced officers struggled to adapt, issuing orders too late or misjudging intervals, further compounding chaos on the battlefield. The realization that one loader could dictate the rate of destruction left a lingering sense of vulnerability and unpredictability. Meanwhile, British forces observed tangible success. Units gained confidence in both their own operational procedures and the broader strategy that leveraged individual skill alongside mechanical capability. Ground crews, loaders, and gunners recognized the critical role of each member in achieving overwhelming effect. This success reinforced the principle that precision, discipline, and coordination could surpass brute force or numerical superiority, transforming individual contribution into strategic advantage. Operationally, the rapid-fire barrage forced enemy units to redistribute forces, diverting manpower from other sectors. Defensive lines weakened elsewhere as troops were redeployed to respond to the unprecedented rate of artillery fire. Strategic planning at enemy headquarters shifted from offense to reactive measures, constrained by uncertainty and limited by resources. The loader's performance had effects that extended beyond immediate physical damage, altering enemy priorities and imposing a sustained operational disadvantage. In summary, the first phase of the aftermath demonstrated that a single individual's skill, when integrated into well-trained, well-coordinated systems, could yield results far beyond expectations. British forces achieved both material destruction and psychological dominance, setting a precedent for the strategic use of human precision in subsequent operations. The longer-term consequences of the rapid-fire barrage became apparent in the days following the initial strike. Enemy command faced a dilemma: how to counter a threat that exceeded conventional assumptions. Defensive positions were revised, yet attempts to accelerate reloads or redistribute artillery units failed to match the tempo sustained by the single British loader. The psychological advantage achieved by Britain persisted, leaving the enemy hesitant to commit fully to counterattacks. Japanese or German units, depending on theatre, scrambled to reinforce sectors exposed to the barrage, diverting personnel from other critical fronts. Communications lines remained compromised, and logistical efforts were slowed. Officers attempted to calculate new firing intervals, but continuous, precise British artillery made predictions unreliable. Every adaptation was met with the same relentless efficiency, creating a cycle of frustration and operational paralysis. Britain capitalized on this advantage. With enemy forces forced into defensive postures, Allied units could maneuver with reduced risk. The operational freedom enabled coordinated advances, reconnaissance, and follow-up artillery strikes. Commanders noted that the effectiveness of the single loader allowed other units to conserve resources while maintaining pressure on the enemy. The integration of human skill and tactical planning had generated an outsized strategic impact. Reports from the field confirmed both material and psychological effects. Enemy positions remained in disarray, and morale continued to decline. Commanders documented the unprecedented rate of fire, noting that the single loader's efficiency had far exceeded standard expectations. The combination of training, endurance, and discipline had effectively rewritten the operational capabilities of the artillery unit. Secondary consequences emerged as well. Enemy troops, fearing repeated rapid-fire barrages, became cautious in movement, slowing operations and reducing overall battlefield effectiveness. Commanders devoted time and resources to anticipate similar events, diverting attention from offensive initiatives. Britain's integration of precision human skill into artillery operations forced the enemy into reactive behavior, extending the strategic impact beyond the immediate sector. By the conclusion of these engagements, it was clear that the rapid-fire barrage had achieved more than destruction. It had reshaped operational thinking, exposed vulnerabilities in doctrine, and demonstrated the decisive power of individual skill combined with disciplined coordination. The British emphasis on human performance and tactical innovation had set a new standard for artillery operations, one that would influence engagements across Normandy and beyond. The stage was now set for reflection, where the broader implications of this remarkable human contribution could be understood in historical and philosophical terms. The rapid-fire barrage orchestrated by a single British loader illustrates the profound impact of human skill in warfare. Amid the chaos of Normandy, one individual's precision, endurance, and discipline transformed ordinary artillery into a force capable of overwhelming enemy positions. This operation proved that human ingenuity, when combined with meticulous planning and coordination, could exceed expectations previously reserved for numbers or machinery. For the enemy, the realization came too late. Defensive assumptions based on conventional firing rates collapsed under the relentless tempo. Confidence gave way to confusion, hesitation, and fear. The psychological effect of continuous, precise artillery fire reshaped behavior on the battlefield, demonstrating that strategic advantage could be achieved as much through human skill as through technological superiority. The operation also highlights the broader philosophy underpinning British military doctrine. Training, rehearsal, and coordination were not abstract exercises. They were essential tools that amplified the impact of each soldier's contribution. The loader's performance became a force multiplier, proving that careful preparation and disciplined execution could achieve results disproportionate to the resources employed. Strategically, the rapid-fire barrage set a precedent for how individual excellence could influence broader operations. Enemy forces were forced into reactive postures, reallocating troops and resources while grappling with uncertainty. British forces, in contrast, capitalized on this advantage, maneuvering decisively and sustaining pressure with minimal loss. The operation underscored the enduring principle that mastery of skill, precision, and timing could redefine the limits of military capability. Ultimately, this campaign serves as a testament to the interplay between human contribution and tactical innovation. It reminds us that behind every calculated strike, every technological advantage, lies the discipline, courage, and expertise of individuals who transform plans into reality. The single British loader became a symbol of how one person, performing at the peak of skill and endurance, can alter the course of battle, leaving an indelible mark on history. In warfare, as in life, excellence is often found in the details, and the smallest acts of precision can resonate with the greatest consequences.